think maybe this is a misconception that happens is people think quantum leap and they think like overnight success, or they think it's all going to happen in this one grand moment. And the truth is quantum leaps happen in baby steps.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm Makena Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Makena, it's that wonderful time of the year.
You guys, it's not even Thanksgiving. I know some of you are out there going like, these people who start decorating for Christmas early are crazy.
Whatever holiday you celebrate, right?
Whatever holiday you celebrate. But I happen to be a big fan of Christmas decorations, and I have been going for a while now. Let's just say after Halloween is fair game. And my house is a Christmas wonderland, and it's so fun.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to see you. You have to send a video because I don't think I'll see it. So I'll see you in California, but not it's your California.
Yeah, a different part of California for Christmas.
Yeah.
What about you, Gigi? You've been traveling a lot.
I have. I just came back from Tulum, which was beautiful, so beautiful, and had a really, really nice time there, and did a sweat lodge that was amazing, and went to a retreat that I attended, which is rare. I think I haven't done that. I did that several years ago. So that was super fun. It's actually a mastermind that I'm in. So yeah.
Love it. And you're I feel like you're jet setting around right now. You're just on a plane every other week.
Like my son said, I said, I'm not going to travel much anymore. He's like, sure. And I'm like every week, I'm going to Utah for the first time. I've never been there. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, I always want to go there. Yeah. So
and you've been at galas. I've seen all kinds of fun things going on in your world.
I was in 2 galas and pictures and what else? I have friends flying in. So yeah, it's a nice time. It's a good, this is such a busy time of the year for all of us, I think, for business and also just social. That's what this time of year is about. So it's fun. And then we get to all come together at up in Berkeley for Christmas. Super exciting.
Yeah.
Everybody will be together this year, which is awesome.
And then we've been preparing. We've talked on the podcast about the Unstoppable Woman Masterclass we have coming up next week, and we're so excited for that. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go to wayofthemuse.com/unstoppable. And this is the perfect way to, at this time of year, really, we're kind of taking stock. First of all, what do you want to create before the end of the year? We still have time. And then also really taking stock and seeing what do you want for next year, and how do you become that unstoppable woman that's going to create it. So we'd love, love, love to see you there.
Yeah. And I think it's so important this time of year to do that. When we have this time for reflection, which we do definitely in December with our mastermind, and then for ourselves, because then you really can plan, right? Which you kind of set that tone for the next year. And if unstoppable is your thing, then we're the ladies to listen to.
Yeah, we'll actually have 3 women on. I think we've mentioned this before on the podcast, but 3 panelists on who are amazing, incredible women, very much unstoppable in their own ways. And they're going to be doing some shares and some Q&A. So that'll be super fun as well. All right, let's get into our topic for today, which is making a quantum leap. So first of all, let's just talk about what a quantum leap is and why we're even bringing this up on the podcast, which is a lot of times when we talk to women, when women come to us and they want to grow in their lives and their businesses or careers, they're in this place of, I want to really grow. I want to make a jump from where I am now. Maybe they're feeling a little bit of a plateau, or they're feeling a little stuck. Or, things are good, they're growing, but they feel like, no, there's this bigger game, there's this bigger dream. And so that's what we really want to talk about today is how do you make that leap? And that leap might be a continuation of where you are. You know, it might be like, okay, I want to grow my business revenue in this way, or I want to get this sort of result, or it might be a leap into something new sometimes, or it might be a leap like calling in a great relationship. But whatever it is, it feels like a stretch from where you are now. That's the main thing. So how do you do that? And how do you do that in a sustainable way where you don't just, well, tell me about that, Gigi, because you talked about not being a one-hit wonder and doing this in a more sustainable way. So what do you mean by that? Why is that important?
Yeah, you see sometimes there are musicians or people that go out there, one-hit wonders, right? They have this amazing song come out, or is amazing, and there's no plan after that, or they take a lot of time off, and then they don't still focus on, taking all that fame and doing something with it. And then what happens is they lose their momentum. And I think that's part of it is not losing the momentum. So a sustainable way is, another example, you can think about it. You go to the gym for 2 months and you're just really working and you're looking good. And then you stop for 5 months and then you have to start all over again. And we see this often. And a lot of this is just because people don't know how to do it. Or they think they don't have time. They don't think they don't have time. They don't know where to fit it in. They don't know exactly what to do. And I think that's a lot where, women come to us, or also men in my leadership coaching, and they need somewhere to think it through, right? And reflect. And you've had this also, Makena, right? Because you've worked with a lot of the women that really have made that quantum leap. And often it's in their businesses and their income.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a great place to start with this conversation is talking about alignment, because something that we see a lot is people want to make this quantum leap, but maybe they haven't really looked to see, is the way that they're looking to grow really the aligned way for them? What do you see with this, Gigi, when people are coming to you? Let's just use the example because it's probably the most common one we come across or we see in our clients of, okay, I'm a business owner and I want to grow my income significantly in the next year. We're approaching 2025. This is the breakout year, or maybe I'm doing really well already, but I have this big vision. I have this big goal. And how would someone kind of tune in to see, or what is it that they need to do here in terms of seeing, is this aligned? Is this really the right direction for them? What do you mean by that?
Well, does it bring you alive, is our language? Is it something that you really feel you want to put your time into? We can have a lot of good ideas. And I think that's also where clarity comes in is good ideas are great. But what we see, if people just go with their good ideas and it's not aligned with how they really want to spend their time or how they see themselves in their business, then what happens is it loses steam, right? Or they get fully into some kind of project. And then it becomes, just a strain and stress, and it's not really successful. So I think that's part of the alignment is so much seeing, how do you want to grow? What's the right thing for you? How do you want to spend your time? And then, does whatever project or how you're growing your business, does putting you in that area, the best use of you, is it the right place for you? And does it, that's the other thing is, does it really bring out the best in you? The best part of what you do that you do really, really well. What we talk about always is like your sweet spot.
Yeah, I said that to somebody the other day. I said something about my zone of genius, and they were like, I love that, right? And it's common language for some people, but some people may never have heard it or really thought that much about, am I in my zone of genius? Am I in my sweet spot? And is this goal, this vision, this whatever it is, this quantum leap going to put me more in my sweet spot or move me away from it? Right?
Yeah.
And this piece you said about good ideas, I think a lot of people have probably hear that term and go, well, why wouldn't I do a good idea? Right? So what do you mean by that? We talk about this in a different way when we're talking with our clients. What are you describing as a quote unquote good idea versus something that's truly aligned for someone?
Especially if you're creative like me, I can have 100 good ideas in one day. So I see something, I think, oh my gosh, that would make a great business, or oh my gosh, this would be a great product, or oh, I'd love to do this. And so what happens is I can have all these ideas, but their ideas, and again, I think it's stepping back. It's then when I go, do I really want to do that? Do I want to spend my time there? Is that going to also earn the kind of money that I want to earn for the time I'm going to put in? I think that is really a big factor. And that's often with creative people. They don't think like that. They think of the creativity, right? So that's one of the ways. What other ways have you seen, Makena?
The other thing I see is we call a good idea, which I'm putting air quotes here for those of you listening. We really talk about this as something that, again, it doesn't light you up. So when we're coaching someone, when we're working with someone and they say, this is the thing I want to do, and we don't see any lights, we reflect that and we just say, no lights, right? And we kind of explore, what is that about? And sometimes maybe we just need to dig deeper and there's a different angle we take, and then we really come to the part that has a lot of lights. But a lot of times it's that people have these things they tell themselves. They have these thoughts in their head that they say, oh, I'm going to do this thing, or I want to do this thing, or I should grow in this way. But when it comes down to it, it's not actually what has energy.
Right.
And that's so much of what you were saying about aliveness is the good idea could be, like you're saying, you're a visionary and you have a ton of different good ideas, and maybe they're not all actually the right idea. Or it can also be these things you tell yourself, but it's not until sometimes people are sitting in front of us, in front of a coach who, is trained in this method to really reflect this, that they go, oh, wait a second, maybe that's not actually where I have energy or what's really aligned for me. And this saves so much time, because I know for me, this was the piece, and money and energy. And because this was the piece for me for so long that I was struggling to see, like we've talked about, how to grow in my previous career or what I wanted to do. And it's because I was looking at the logical linear progression and I couldn't see sort of outside of the box, outside of the good ideas, so to speak, to what I really, really wanted. And that was the huge distinction. So that's the main point we want to make here, is in terms of, is it really aligned? Does it bring you alive? Does it have energy? Because then that feeds into everything else, right?
And that's what makes it sustainable also, is because, whatever project, whatever business we grow, there's going to be hard times. There's going to be good times. There'll be times where it's easier and times where it's more difficult. And in those times where it's more challenging, if it's something that really does bring you alive, it's something that does light you up, and, you can sustain it. You can keep on going with it during all those different times.
Yeah, I love that, because like you're saying, there are so many ups and downs in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And this is true. We're using entrepreneurship again because it's the most common thing that women come to us. They want to make a leap in their business. But this is true in any stretch. I do want to say that like anytime you're stretching yourself out of your comfort zone into something, that's scary for you, or that's new for you, or whatever it might be, anytime you're making a quantum leap, it is going to be a stretch. It's not going to exist in the level of your comfort zone. And so in that, it's going to bring these things up, right? It's not just in making a leap in your business. So making sure that whatever that leap is, that you're really aligned, then having that alignment, having that aliveness really creates, like you're saying, the fuel, the energy that helps you get through those ups and downs, and especially the down days, and keep going. What about...
And you want to be excited, you want to feel that excitement, and you also want to feel like it's a stretch, but that you can do it. I see sometimes that's the other thing, is people have these ideas and they think, oh, it really lights me up and everything, but it's so complicated. And so the complexity of it makes people hesitate, thank goodness, or sometimes they go ahead and go with it. And again, it wasn't the right thing. So it's really also, you want to feel into, it's a stretch, but you feel excited about that stretch and that you can get in there and you can go for it.
Just to recap that, a lot of times we see that when people are wanting to make a leap and they feel like, oh, I've wanted to grow this business, let's say, or I've wanted to make this leap, and months have gone by or even years have gone by and it's not happening. Often it is one of these, let's say 2 or 3 things. one, it wasn't actually truly aligned. It didn't light them up or wasn't aligned for some reason or another. Two is that, like you're saying, they maybe are setting a goal or a vision or a dream that's too much of a stretch. It's like so far away from where they are now that they can't actually get their energy behind it. They can't actually believe in some way that it's going to happen or like fully get themselves behind that and go for it because it's so far out there. And that's something I love that you've always taught me, Gigi, and many of our clients, is we always ask them when they set a vision or a goal for a leap, is that, it's like energetically, is that a stretch, but also achievable? That's the language you usually use. And the third one we were just talking about before is support. Sometimes if we're spinning our wheels thinking, I'm going to do this, and it's just not happening, then what's gotten you here probably isn't going to get you where you want to go. So somewhere in there, you may need support, or you may need somebody on the outside that's looking in. That's so often what we do for people, right? Is we're like the sounding board. We're outside looking in, and we can see sort of the opportunities or the other options, or reflect back what we see in terms of that aliveness. Is there anything else around those, Gigi, that you want to share?
I think with the support piece too, what I've seen is it's just having someone there to be by your side. Sometimes, sometimes it's a very subtle shift, which is such a strange thing. All someone needs is someone to talk it through with, somebody who is, not going to get in there and just give them advice, but really give them feedback. And then what happens is the person sees clearly. And so they have that person beside them, and they are able to make that shift. We see that happen all the time. I see that experience happen.
Yeah. So those are three things to maybe consider if you're sitting in that position. Or you may be, new to wanting to make this leap, in which case it's great that you're listening to this and you can know what are sort of the ingredients that make up the ability to do this and the ability to do it and not just be that one-hit wonder, but actually sustain it over time, have that growth or that change continue to sustain. What else do you see, Gigi, in terms of what else can really help someone to create this shift if they're feeling a little stuck around it, or they just don't know the path to take, or they go, I'm so busy already. How am I going to find the time to really make the jump that I want to make?
One thing is to cut the busy work. A lot of times the busy work, I can watch myself get frenzied with this. I will be in a very busy time in my life, but I almost the busy time, I start getting in that energy of busy work. And so in my spaces where, I do have some time, I'm not focused in the way that I could be. And I think that's often for people. So it's to make and allow time to start a quantum leap is you have to create some space. So see where you're taking up time, just being so busy on that hamster wheel. And we talked about this in, I think, probably several podcasts now, scrolling on social media, and eliminate those activities and start putting the time into doing some thinking work or reflecting work to really see what do you want to do, and then take the actions that really move the needle. I love that. I read that book years ago, and I always use this with our ladies in the mastermind, is what's the one thing you could do today to move the needle towards your project and get results? Because that's all it takes. That one thing a day over a period of even 30 days starts to really move and shift things. And we as human beings, I don't know why, I guess we get distracted. We just don't realize that those little subtle shifts, when they are consistent, like we said, become something very sustainable.
Yeah, two great books on that topic. One is The One Thing, and I don't remember the authors, but we can link these in the show notes. And the other one is the Slight Edge.
Slight Edge, yeah, is also
That's really another great one, about how the small things we do over time really, really add up. So if you want some audiobook recommendations, then those would be some great ones. And I love what you said about taking the time and space to reflect, first of all, because sometimes I think that's the part that people really miss, right? We it's like we're in the doing all the time, or we're distracted, like you're saying, and just kind of habitual in our actions. But carving out that space to really reflect. And sometimes that's hard to do by yourself sitting at home or something like that. So that's where coming to something like our masterclass that we have coming up, because it's this environment that we're creating and curating the space. There's a certain energy, especially if you get on that call live. And I highly recommend moving your calendar around if you can to be there live, because the energy of a live call like that, when there's people tuning in from all over the world and everybody's in there and you're learning and you're doing reflection questions and you have that space, there's something about that, don't you find, Gigi, to really have these aha moments and these breakthroughs come through, very different than just sitting there at home with a pen and paper trying to get clear.
One thing is it's the collective consciousness, right? And we're sitting and people are talking and we get new ideas from hearing other people or hearing someone speak. And so it is that it's a real moment, it's being in that moment of in the moment, which is very powerful when it comes to new ideas, or like you said, it comes to actual ahas, like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Or by hearing other people or seeing what they're going through and seeing the way they're approaching things, we learn so much as well. I was just going to say, it's so simple. We overcomplicate things like that. So,
yeah. I'll never forget when one of our clients who lives in Switzerland came on one of our master classes. It was a free master class like this one. It was a couple of years ago. And we led a visioning process on that master class. And she saw, I'm trying to remember the exact details of the story, but she saw, you tell it.
Yeah. So she was wanting to move. I might not get all the details exactly right. And when she was doing the visioning process, she saw this house she had looked at several years before and had talked to the lady that owned it. And the lady had really wanted her to move there. And she, had decided not to do it, hadn't thought about it in a long time and hadn't talked to the woman. The next day, the woman reached out to her and said, I would love for you to live in my house. And she reached out,
like within 24 hours after she did this visioning process, saw this house and was like, oh my gosh, that's where I would love to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the woman reached out to her, and then she reached out to me and she said, is this me just getting distracted, or is this something I should really go for? And I said, oh my gosh, you should go for it. That is a sign from a wink from God, or a sign from the universe that is absolutely something you should pursue. And so she did, and she ended up moving there and was extremely happy. It's a beautiful place. I visited her there a couple of times, and such a beautiful place. And she had, it completely changed her life. She was where she wanted to be. And it was amazing.
So speaking, I just wanted to share that. It popped into my mind as the power of coming to something like this, where you're in this live experience. There is this collective energy. We all have this intention of, in this case, the masterclass being the unstoppable woman, like really becoming the unstoppable woman. And what will you do when you are that version of you? And what kind of leaps will you create? Giving yourself that time, carving out that time to really reflect, because from there, it becomes a lot easier to simplify. Like you were talking about, we overcomplicate things. We get caught up in the busy work. If you know the vision, you know where you're going, then it's easier to go, what's going to really move the needle to get me there? Versus if we're just kind of in our day to day going, well, I know I kind of want to do this thing, or I want to make this, I think I want to make this leap. Hopefully it's alive and aligned for me. And then we just start checking things off a list. We're like, right, okay, make a social media post, reach out to this person. We just have this list, and there's often not the energy behind it or the clarity behind it of like, this is what I want. This is the thing. And then how do I create the space and the time to make that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And why don't you share too, once we do that, what is it that how does somebody start with this? What do they do?
Well, we always share about, instead of words like discipline and, some of these things, like you've got to be disciplined and taking your actions, a word that you came up with, Gigi, that I think is so beautiful is rhythm. Rhythm and follow through. So rhythm is about, what is your rhythm of your days, of your weeks, in terms of we all have let's say a rhythm of some kind. It might be a very beautiful rhythm, or it might be a very kind of disjointed rhythm, but really starting to be intentional about how you create your rhythm to ensure that you are moving consistently in the direction of whatever that quantum leap is. And then there has to be the follow through. And this is so much, people have the great ideas, they get excited, and then they just don't take the actions. Or more often than not, what we see is that they take the actions for a short time and then they get distracted, or then they fall off and they go, oh, well, I'm not, I fell off anyway, so whatever. And this is where hugely, again, the support piece comes in, but really looking at what is that rhythm going to be for your quantum leap, right? The quantum leap, I think maybe this is a misconception that happens, is people think quantum leap and they think like overnight success, or they think it's all going to happen in this one grand moment. And the truth is, quantum leaps happen in baby steps. They happen in baby steps. And so in that, creating your rhythm for the baby steps and then following through on it.
Yeah. In your baby steps, a quantum leap can happen, that an opportunity comes in that is a quantum leap. But normally it comes in if you've been taking those baby steps. That's the part. Yeah. You have to be doing the action. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to tell the story in the masterclass coming up about when you made your first million, when you did your first $1 million year in the early 1990s. So we'll save that for the masterclass, but it's a great story, and how you really did this and what were the pieces that really led to you being able to make that quantum leap and to really, really grow your business. I know you had a lot of systems in place and a lot of different pieces in place to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So that is, I think, our steps for today. And so anything else you want to share on this, or I think that's pretty clear?
I think it's clear, this is kind of like our secret sauce. Yeah. So this is what we do with everyone. And like I said, it's when you're sitting in yourself, a lot of times it feels complex or confusing. And I think that's true for anyone, really.
Yeah.
And
even us.
Yeah, even us, that's why we have to do that with
Gigi's
each
in a
other.
mastermind.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then you get this clarity by when you do these simple little steps. But again, it's like we talk about, there are instructions and they're written on the outside and you can't see them. So yeah, but you can begin what we shared with you today. You can absolutely begin those baby steps with the things that we shared with you today.
Yeah. And just one more plug for the masterclass, because it's going to be so great. We'd love to see you all there. Here you get to listen to us. And of course, it's on your own time, and that's wonderful. The masterclass is an opportunity for you to come on and actually get, in that energy we talked about, but also maybe have some questions answered, hear from our panelists, and really support you to set the tone to make that quantum leap. And there will be a replay, but as mentioned, we highly, highly recommend making it live if you can. So you can go to wayofthemuse.com/unstoppable and sign up there for free. Please share it with your friends that might enjoy it as well. And we're coming up on the holidays here. I think we have one more episode before Thanksgiving here in the US. So we'll have some fun things coming up that are holiday related for you all. And maybe some Black Friday sales, just saying, keep an eye out. So we'll be in touch, and we'll see you on the podcast next week.
All right.
Thank
see
you,
McKenna. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.